Welcome to episode 97 of the Daniel Yoris Podcast, 2022 Holiday Fitness Guide. Let's go. Welcome back to another episode, number 97. It's getting up there. We're getting close to the big 100 for whatever that's worth. And if you're not watching the video of this podcast, you're missing out on some festive lighting, red light and green light behind me. Happy holidays, happy Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy whatever else you're celebrating. I hope you get to spend time with your family and do the things that you love and enjoy all the things that you deserve to enjoy. But today we'll talk about the fitness of the holidays, the fitness guide, nutrition guide, and really I'll probably title this episode or something in the title, How to Not Get Fat for Christmas. And while that sounds maybe a little bit harsh, if you're new here, just get used to some some real truth. And if you're not, then you should expect nothing less. But, I've talked about this every single holiday. There's always this conversation of, how do I limit fat gain or limit the damage that I'm going to do throughout the holidays? And I can't stop eating, and I have so many obligations and Christmas parties and work party and so much food and alcohol and things happening, and I always gain weight during the holidays. How do I stop that? Well, we talk about this all the time, but it always bears repeating because these things are always coming up. There's always another holiday, another birthday, another something, and we have to have some strategies to get through it because it's just a part of life. Now, many people gain just a few pounds over the holidays every year. There's sort of a misconception about how a lot of people gain weight. Now, of course, this is drawing a huge generalization, and it's a little bit different for everyone. But there are a lot of people who steadily gain weight just all the time. But there are also a lot of people who basically maintain their weight all year round. And then through the holidays, and say like Thanksgiving or American Thanksgiving right through to New Year's, gain an amount of weight that's really not even that much. It might even be less than 5 pounds, like 3 pounds. And then they just don't lose that. But if you gain 3 pounds a year times 10 years, that's 30 pounds, and that's a significant amount of weight. Your clothes will fit different, you'll feel different health outcomes, you'll look significantly different. If you just put on 30 pounds like in one day, you would obviously notice that. A 30-pound change is a large amount. So how do we avoid this waking up one day 10 years down the road and, oh my God, how did I gain 30 pounds? What happened? Well, it starts with not gaining the 3 pounds per year in the first place, and or if you do gain those 3 pounds, how do you then lose them after? So that's what I kind of want to why I want to continue to cover this. And I'll probably put out an episode like this every year because it just bears repeating. And it's something that we'll all struggle with, and we all, hear these messages in different ways and at different times, and it hits us based on different things that's going on in our life. And so we always need to repeat the same messages until it sticks and we get it over with, and things that you can share with your friends as well. So again, if you're not new here, you already know what I'm going to say about most of these things. My real advice on how to not gain weight through the holidays is this: worry about your diet and exercise for the rest of the 50 years or the 50 weeks of the year. I was hoping to make that a clip, and hopefully I could get that in one shot. But my real advice is this: for the remaining 50 weeks of the year, or the previous 50 weeks of the year, worry about your health and fitness and your diet, be on point with your training and all that stuff. If you didn't worry about it before, then why would you start worrying about it now during the holidays? It's very silly. It's very illogical. And if you've been on point for the rest of the time, the rest of the year, the other 50 weeks, then you've got nothing to worry about because you're going to go through the holidays, so you're going to enjoy yourself, you do your thing, and then you just get right back on track afterwards. And that's my real advice. So if you don't worry about it the rest of the time, I don't know why you would start worrying about it now. Again, it's very illogical, but you're not really going to make or break any progress if you haven't been paying attention to anything anyways. So just because it's highlighted, it's in the media, you see more posts about it, you see articles from mainstream news sites and your favorite daytime TV show, talk shows and like these kind of things. I think that's kind of why it comes up. But if you haven't worried about it, continue to just not worry about it and do your thing. And if you have been on point with all your stuff, then you've got nothing to worry about. So in reality, not all that much to worry about. If you've been good the rest of the year and been making progress towards your goals, then basically you can just shut this episode off, share it with a friend maybe who doesn't pay attention to their stuff, and go about your holidays, enjoy it. See you back in the gym January 2nd. But if for everyone else who doesn't pay attention the rest of the time, let's talk about how to do some damage control, because that's really what this is all about. I'm not one of those people that's going to be here and say like, okay, you should continue counting your calories and keeping a super clean diet and don't do anything you wouldn't do. And like, obviously that's kind of silly and like useless advice, because you're not going to do that. Neither am I, and neither is most people. So it's damage control. That's what we really got to focus on. I picked out 5 things I think that are the biggest things that are tangible that you can reasonably do, that are things that will move the needle. And so let's go through them. The first, and I think this is the biggest thing that you can do through the holidays, is to limit or altogether eliminate alcohol. It's probably one of, if not the highest sources of just total calories. And we're not going to get into a whole conversation about weight gain, but weight gain works by consuming more calories than you expend. If you're eating more than you move, then you'll gain weight. If the opposite, then you'll lose weight. If you're drinking a lot, there are calories in alcohol. Different alcohols, different alcoholic beverages have different amounts of calories based on the ingredients, but the alcohol portion of it itself has 7 calories per gram of alcohol. Not something that I would recommend counting. Like, don't count the calories of your alcohol, and don't count calories of anything during Christmas and New Year's, frankly. But just understand that there are greater than 0 and a significant amount, because it's not like it's filling you up really, where you feel full. You've had a chicken breast and you feel full. You didn't have like a shot of tequila and you don't feel full. You can just keep going. It's not something you think about, but it's often missed. The other side of all the alcohol is that it obviously destroys your sleep. Your recovery is worse. Like, all of these things are worse, and that's not good. But then the worst part about it is that it leads to worse decisions the next day. Very few people, wake up the next morning after a night of drinking and you feel like eating something healthy. No, you want like greasy breakfast food or something like that. And you're just more tired, and more stressed leads to worse food decisions as usual. And this goes throughout time, and it's not just with alcohol, but it's with everything. And this is another one of the reasons why sleep is so important, because it helps you to function optimally and be thinking correctly all the time. And so when you're not doing that, then you're going to make less good choices, and less good choices with food leads to more fat gain. And then the cycle just continues in downward spiral. Another thing, and everyone obviously knows this, is basically the point of drinking alcohol, is that it lowers your inhibitions. Inhibitions to what? Many things. I hope you don't make too many bad decisions. Definitely, like, don't do anything dangerous or silly or stupid. Like, do not drink and drive. Don't do those kind of things. Separate conversation altogether. But as far as your inhibitions in regards to food, you may go into the evening thinking, okay, I'm not going to overeat. I'm not going to have any of these snacks. I'm not going to overdo it on dessert. You start drinking and you start not caring about those inhibitions that you had before you got to the house. And now you've had a few drinks in you and you're like, yeah, I will have an extra piece of this. I will have an extra piece of that. I'll have a few handfuls of this. And before you know it, you've consumed an extra 1,000 calories without even really knowing it. You also get, there's snacking when you're drinking, your chips and pretzels and nuts and whatever. And whether it's healthy or not, it doesn't matter. It's not that no one's snacking on cucumber slices while they're drinking. And if you are, I mean, great, but probably not that fun of a drinking partner. But you're not snacking on healthy stuff while you're drinking for the most part. So, and even if you're just overdoing it totally, like, you can still get fat by eating healthy foods. You're way less likely to, which we'll talk about in a second, but you're overeating, and that's really the name of the game. So avoid or limit alcohol as best as you can. I'm not saying I won't be totally eliminating alcohol. I don't drink all that much really anyways, especially these kind of like parties and stuff or family events and whatever. But you don't have to overdo it. There's no need to overdo it. And especially if you know that you're going to have like trouble with food and things like that, and it's going to ruin some days ahead or afterwards, then try your best to limit it and just go into the night with a game plan. I'm going to have 2 drinks or 3 drinks and that's it. I'm not going to just by accident or unknowingly have 7 drinks. So go in with a game plan and stick to that game plan. Be an adult. Thing number 2, do not stop training. Drag yourself to the gym and get like a half-ass shitty workout in, just a walk on the treadmill, a stretch session, do 1 set of bench press, like just whatever it is, do something. Do not stop training. And this, again, all of this, keep this in mind with every one of these points that I'm going to make throughout this episode, is this is about damage control. This is not about making progress. And this is about people who struggle who struggled with gaining weight through the holidays. We're just trying to undo some of these things or damage control. So just get in any amount of workout. You're probably not going to be making a whole lot of progress over these next 2 weeks unless you're super disciplined, which you probably won't be, and rightfully so. But you just got to get anything in. And even on the day of the celebration, Christmas Eve, whatever celebrations you have, the days where you're going to have the big meals, make sure you get a hard training session in on those days. It's not going to totally offset it. And just because you did a hard workout, I promise you with everything that you are going to be eating more calories than you burn in your workout. Unless you're going to go to the gym for like 4 hours, which I highly do not recommend. You're not burning off enough calories to offset whatever it is that you're going to eat. What it will do, though, is one, it will make you feel emotionally less guilty, that you've somewhat earned it, that you went to the gym and you put in a solid effort today, and you somewhat earned it, which is important because you don't want to feel down about yourself. You feel down about yourself, and then you snack more, and then it's just, again, vicious spiral downwards. Another thing that continuing to train, even half-assed, will do is just to keep you in routine. You've worked so hard to maintain this routine or to get up to this routine of going to the gym regularly every Tuesday and Thursday or whatever days it is that you work out. Try not to do things that are going to throw off that schedule. Now, also keep in mind, we've been lucky this year. We are very lucky this year that Christmas and New Year's both fall on weekend days. So it shouldn't interrupt your schedule as much as usual. If Christmas falls on like a Wednesday, well, you usually do you're at work on a typical Wednesday, and you go to the gym on Wednesdays or whatever other stuff you do, and it just throws off the schedule, which is fine. But this year we don't have that happening. We have the Christmas on the weekend, and so you can consider it as just like a normal, like overindulgent weekend almost, and try to keep your normal routine Monday to Friday between it, which is huge. So trying to maintain that routine. Another thing that you're going to benefit from continuing to train is if you've been in like a muscle building phase and you're continuing to train, this added stimulus of more calories is going to help bump up your total caloric surplus to be able to keep putting on muscle. So if you've been struggling to eat, this might help bump you up a little bit, and for whatever that's worth. That's why I always think like the end of the year is good to sort of work on putting on muscle, just because there is so much more so many more social events, and you can put those extra calories to use rather than being nervous and upset about them, or having to restrict yourself and being at holiday parties and worrying about putting on weight. And like if your goal is to be putting on weight in the form of muscle mass throughout this time of year, then you can be a little bit more content with overeating, because that's kind of what you're trying to do. So I'm a big fan of getting workouts in on the day of for that guilt reason. And also it just feels good to get a solid workout in. Your workouts should feel more fueled. You are more fueled because you're eating more. But the thing that I like about it also is that it gets you more hungry, and food is more satisfying after you've had a hard workout and you feel like you can eat more of the good stuff. So I always like, when I can, sometimes scheduling doesn't work out, but like the morning of Christmas Eve, which is probably the biggest meal for us, or Christmas Day in my family, it's back to back. But I try and get a big workout in both of those days, or at least one of them, just so you just feel better. So don't stop training throughout like the next couple of weeks, and definitely try and train on the days that you are going to be overindulging. And I think that's gonna help with all the things that I just mentioned. So at the actual meal, Christmas dinner, whatever dinner you're having, prioritize protein on your plate. This is painfully obvious and repetitive. You should be prioritizing protein in your diet all year round, all the time. None of these lessons are like, or none of these tips are like things that don't apply to other times of the year, but just, highlight them for the purposes of this. When you fill your dinner plate, fill it with, fish or turkey or roast beef or ham or whatever it is that you and your family eat at holiday dinners. Put that stuff on your plate first. Fill up most of your plate with that. Then fill it up with vegetables, and then add your carbs and stuff on top. higher protein keeps you fuller longer, less hungry for junk after, more satiating, and it's way harder for the body to store protein as fat versus storing carbs or fats as body fat. So that's just a simple and obvious one, and nobody has ever like overeaten turkey or roast beef. Like, it's very hard. You could obviously do it conceivably, but you won't as far as eating too many calories, but you can way overeat on rice or pasta or whatever, other stuff, carby stuff especially. So prioritize protein. You have all that protein, you're going to be less hungry for junk later, and it'll just fuel you better, and you'll feel better. You'll feel like less crap for having more protein in. And again, always aim for more protein in your diet. 1 gram per pound is a good place to aim for. If you fall a little short of that, that's okay, but just aim for that as just a general rule of thumb, kind of like all year round, and fill your plate up with protein first. On the note of food, number 4 on today's list, don't fill your dessert plate up like an unsupervised child. I have some younger cousins who are not so young anymore, but when they were younger, I was older, I'm like more than 10 years older than some of my youngest cousins, I would notice that they would like, and I'm sure I did this as a kid too, no doubt about it, but we have buffet style desserts, and my family definitely overdoes it on desserts. There's always multiple cakes and types of cookies and different things, and which is amazing. But the kids go and get it, and they fill up a plate, and it's like a mountain of cookies and cake and 1 of everything and 2 of some things and big piles of whatever. And the plate, it weighs more than they do, and so they are quite literally in those moments like unsupervised children filling their plate, right? My mom would say, "Oh, go fill your dessert plate. You're a big boy. Go do it yourself." And so, as a little 8-year-old boy, I'm going to go and put as much cookies as I think I can eat on that plate. But, you're an 8-year-old boy. You can't actually eat that much. You take 1 bite of everything and then you leave half it on the plate. Adults, you listening, don't do that. Don't fill your dessert plate like an unsupervised child. Here's another thing. If you have children, don't finish your kids' plates. I know that this is a big one, and this is something that I don't think that we really realize or talk about all that much. I don't have children, of course, but I know that many of my clients who do have children, I ask them about this, and it's always like, "Oh yeah, I ate like a normal amount, but then my daughter didn't finish this, my son didn't finish that," and I just kind of pick at their plates, and then, you combine the leftovers on the kids' plates, and it turns into another full plate. And that's one of these sneaky kind of sources of food intake that you didn't think about it because you didn't plan on it, but it just happened, and it just looked like a few things here and there, a few nibbles, but these nibbles add up especially when there's multiple children and over the course of the night, and especially with the amount of dessert that an unsupervised child would be allowed to or will be wanting to put on their plate. So how to approach dessert? I'm not saying don't have any dessert. If you know me, that's absolutely not anything I would ever say. Like, I love dessert just as much as anyone else, and if not more. Take small amounts of things. Take 1 piece. Take a half. No one, it's okay to take a half cookie. Cut it in half with a knife, break it in half, whatever. Take a half. Take a small piece. Take 1 thing at a time until you realize what you actually want. And also, don't forget that you're an adult, and you can say no. If you really filled up to your limit, if you really don't want it, if you're really worried about packing on calories and gaining weight and whatever, you can say no. If you're not in a place where you feel like you can indulge just a little bit, and you know that if you go a little bit, you're going to go way overboard, then you've got to be the adult and be strong enough to say no to that and just not indulge. Because if you can't do that, you can't also complain about the consequences of your actions. Like, it's one or the other. These things don't happen by accident. Weight gain is unfortunately not an accident. It's not necessarily one's fault. It's not your fault. But no one is putting that cookie in your hand, or no one's putting that second cookie in your mouth, on your plate, whatever. We do have the ability to make these choices and control these things. Sometimes it's difficult, and there are so many other factors, but at the end of the day, you've got to make that decision, right or wrong, yes or no, to do the things that you want and to get the outcomes that you want. Now, there's going to be people who listen to this, or other coaches who would talk about this, and people who are the if it fits your macros, or the calorie in, calorie out, like hardo people. I don't know what a proper word for these people is, but just the hard-o people on this. And they say things like, dessert is not the problem, alcohol is not the problem, it's just too many calories. And like, yeah, you're right. The problem is too many calories. But like I said before, nobody, absolutely nobody is getting too fat because they ate too much turkey, an extra piece of roast beef, or they overate on shrimps. Like, that has never happened in the history of ever. It is way, way easier to overconsume calories in desserts and alcohol than it is to overconsume calories on healthy foods. And if you're not sure what healthy foods are, if you have to ask yourself if it's healthy or not, it's probably not that healthy. So you already know what the healthy foods are. Don't overcomplicate this. But the point of this is just to quiet that argument of don't demonize food groups and don't demonize dessert and alcohol. And I'm not demonizing it. But what I'm saying is that you are way more likely to overconsume on those unhealthy things, those easy calories, those empty calories, if you will, than you are on whole foods, nutritious stuff, root vegetables, broccoli, whatever, meats, fish. Like, you're not going to overdo it on that. Conceivably, yes, you could, but you're far less likely to do that than you are to consume an extra 1,000 calories of desserts or 1,000 calories of alcohol. It's very easy to do that. You wouldn't even notice. You wouldn't even feel full. It can do it in the snap of your fingers. You're not just going to eat an extra 1,000 calories of turkey breast. It just won't happen. So just to quiet that argument, because that's definitely a thing and it's definitely real, but just eat healthy foods for the most part. And this goes beyond this, but don't overconsume on the junk stuff. So that's that. Here's the most important thing now. Number 5. The most important thing that's going to happen and the most important way to not get fat over the holidays is about what happens after the holidays. You are highly unlikely to be perfect on your training and your diet through the holidays, and that's okay. In fact, it's expected. So don't let 2 weeks of Christmas and New Year's and whatever other holidays you celebrate become 2 months. Lean into the new year, new me thing. People like to kind of shit on that and whatever, but I think it's something that you can lean into. It's the perfect reset point. There's no better reset point than the new year, January. We get right into it. It's even on a Monday, January 2nd, I believe is a Monday, or whatever it is. Even if it's not, doesn't matter. Let that be a time when you can get back into things. Already have a plan as to what's going to happen afterwards. If you have a plan now, you are significantly more likely to stick to the plan than if you wait until that comes around and then January 2nd rolls around. And by the way, I always say January 2nd, not January 1st, because January 1st is usually, for the most part, it's already a write-off of a day. Whether you've been drinking or not the night before, you more than likely stayed up late past midnight to celebrate the new year and ring in the new year and all that stuff. And so you go to bed late, it's still a holiday day, so you may have visits with people. And so there's not many people who are just going to bed at 10:30 p.m. on December 31st, and you wake up 6 a.m. and you hit the gym on January 1st. I'm sure there's people who do that, and if you do that, by all means, go ahead, and that's fantastic for you. But for the most part, that's not what people do. And January 1 is kind of like a write-off of a day. So January 2nd is the real day to get going. And that's why I always say that. It's just about being realistic. Now I lost what I was going to say, just to explain that. But just double down on getting back on track. But it comes down to making an actual plan ahead of time. It's very hard to wake up. This is what I was going to say. It's very hard to wake up January 2nd and then just be like, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to make my whole plan today, and I'm going to get on track, and I'm going to buy all the right food, and I already have the gym membership the place that I'm going to go. I have already hired my coach. I've already done this. If you haven't done those things, it's very hard to just get all that sorted in a day. And then that's how, okay, I'll start looking, and then you start Googling some things. You go check out this gym, you talk to this coach, you look up this workout equipment, whatever the things are. And then maybe by the end of the week, Friday or whatever, what day of the week is January 2nd? Let me look this up really quick. January 2nd is a Monday. Okay, I was right. So you do this all on Monday, and then by the time you've chosen a gym, maybe chosen a coach that you want to hire, maybe the order of your workout clothes came in, or whatever stuff you need to get started, it's Friday. And you're like, okay. Then it already starts to sink in so fast that it's already Friday. I'll start on Monday. And you've already burned the first week of the new year. and then it starts on Monday, but then the weekend, and there's another friend who you didn't see over Christmas because their kid was sick, and so you didn't see them before, but now you're going to see them after, and so you see them on the weekend, you have another night of drinking and whatever, and then next Monday rolls around, you weren't really ready, and then next thing you know, like it's already going to be January 15th, and you still haven't started anything because you didn't have a plan before because you waited too long. So the moral of that story, and I know that sounds harsh, but it's so true, and I hear it every single year, and I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want that to be you. So you need to start now. I wrote even a note in here for myself that I need to plug coaching in here, and I've been saying this for 3 months now, that I do not want to take any new clients in January, and that's the worst business strategy maybe of all time for a fitness coach, for a personal trainer. But I'm so serious about it, and it's because the people who start thinking about things in January, it doesn't work out as well as you think it does in your head. It can, but it rarely does. It's the people who are prepared ahead of time, and the people who take action now. When the time to start is now, you start thinking about things now. You get your workout plan ready. You have all your workout clothes ready. You've figured out the logistics of your routine, whether you're going to go to the gym on Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning or whatever works with your work and life schedule. All of those things, groceries, recipes, whatever you need, all those things have to be in place. So you hit January 2nd, you hit the ground running, you come out of the gates flying, rather than starting to figure these things out in the beginning of January. It takes a couple weeks because it never just happens on the first day, unless you just know everything. You've already done this before and whatever, but that's a different story. It takes a few weeks, and then the next thing you know, that motivation, that new year, new me hype is already over. We're already into February, and you're just bang, right back into the same old habits. And then 2 weeks the 2 weeks of Christmas and New Year's has become 2 months. February's passed, and March is rolling around, and you're already thinking about, wow, I should have really gotten in shape for summer as the weather starts to turn. And this happens too often, and I hate to see it, and I don't want to see it be you. So to plug myself, because like I reminded myself to, because I'm horrible at doing this. If you want to start getting in shape and you need a coach and you need all that stuff, message me right now. Don't wait until next week. Do not wait until January. I'm very unlikely to message you back in January. Things are already super busy for January because of the way things are. I've been saying this message for a couple months, and I have already a bunch of new clients starting in January. There's not going to be a whole lot of time, and I promise you, if you message me in January, it will not start right away. It will be a week or 2 weeks, and who knows what happens in those 2 weeks. So if you need to start, if you need a plan for starting in January, the time to start is right now. Send me a message. My email is daniel@danielyoris.com. The link to my online coaching application page on my website will be in the show notes of this episode. And it wasn't my intention in this episode to make this a whole plug, but I am pleading with you for your own sake. If it's not me, that's okay. If I'm not the guy for you, I'm okay with that. But please make a plan to start your fitness journey, whether you're getting back on track or you're getting on track for the first time or anything in between. Make the plan to start right now, as soon as you're done listening to this episode. I cannot be even more serious about that. And I know that I'm getting excited because I'm talking really fast. And when I start talking really fast, that's when I'm getting too excited. So I'm going to take a deep breath, and you need to start all those things now. If you need help with that, you don't need to necessarily hire me, and I'm okay with that. But if you need help with just navigating this whole thing, what should you be looking for? Who should you talk to? Point you in the right direction? Gyms, this, that, the other thing. Just send me a message. Message me on Instagram @DanielYoris. Send me a message, and I'm happy to just talk with you about it and like kind of help you navigate and all that stuff, because this is very important to get right back on track. That is the number one thing that you can do. You're going to do some damage. This was about damage control, this whole episode. You're going to do some damage control. Or you need to do some damage control. And the biggest thing for damage control is stopping the damage when it's over. It's going to happen. You're going to drink. You're going to eat junk food. You're going to overindulge. You're going to stay up late. You're going to party. You're going to have fun. And I want you to do all those things. But it's got to end. It has to end at some point. And so the sooner you can stop it, the sooner you can end it and cut it off and get back to normal routine, the better off you're going to be. And you will thank me later. And you will thank you later. So do it. All right. With that, I'm going to let you go. This was a good one. Please share this with your friends. That's the biggest way that you can help support this, and as well as have an accountability buddy. Share this with a friend and say, hey, we've got to do these things. Share it with your partner, your wife, your husband, your children, your brothers and sisters, whoever, that you guys got to all stay on track together through Christmas and the holidays. These are the people to share this with, because they're the ones who are sharing these holidays with you. And if you can do it together, it's going to be much more effective and much easier, because there's a lot less judgment, and that's a whole other psychological conversation about judgment around these things and family support and whatnot. So share this with those people. Follow me on Instagram at Daniel Yoris, on Twitter as well. I'm actually going to delete TikTok, but don't follow me there anyways. But whatever. Now I'm just rambling. DanielYoris.com/coaching for coaching applications. I'll put the link to everything in the show notes. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Enjoy yourself with your family. Get right back on track. Let's train hard. Make sure you go outside. Be a good person. We'll see you next time.